Hey, welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we're talking about how to make it easier to move large quantities of meat, and I'm talking about shares. We do our shares a little differently than a lot of farms, and I'm going to share that with you today. Hopefully you can use it on your farm and it'll help boost your sales. All right, let's get into it. Real quick, we have a newsletter, the Sunday Solopreneur. This comes out every Sunday about 10 a.m. I talk about how to market your products on your farm, how to use social media and websites to grow your farm. I also talk about farming, raising cattle, chickens, pigs. We go through it all, and it's about building your farm business. Sign up now, and you also get a free PDF on how to use ChatGPT to write your social media, to write your newsletters, and to help write product descriptions for your products. This is free download for signing up for the newsletter. One newsletter every 1 to 2 weeks, no spam, I promise. Check it out. I think you'll get a lot of value in learning to grow your farm or homestead, and it's free. All right, back to the video. So we're talking about shares, and traditionally when people do shares, this is kind of awkward, me bending down like this. All right, today we're talking about shares. Traditionally, when people do shares, they sell them using cut sheets, meaning the customer pays a deposit for the animal, beef, pork typically. Then they get a cut sheet, and that deposit means they get whatever portion of the animal you're selling, and they look through the cut sheet and decide how they want their cuts. This is a great way to do it. We still use this with our larger shares, specifically half and whole beef shares, but we found a really simple way to make smaller shares, one, more easy for the customer, two, better for you to know your inventory and your pricing, and three, to get rid of cut sheets altogether. And these are called predefined shares. So what is a predefined share? Essentially, instead of the customer paying you the deposit, going through the cut sheet and filling it out, we take the animal to the processor, we get the animal processed, we bring it back here, all the cuts, already USDA cuts, and then we separate out into quarters, halves, whatever bulk shares we're going to sell. These portions are based on what would typically constitute a quarter, an eighth, or a half. What this does is makes it a lot easier for the customer. Again, I drive this home pretty much in every video that we as farmers have to make it easy for our customers. One of the ways we do that, I think, is getting rid of the cut sheet. Let's talk about the cut sheet for a minute. You've looked over cut sheets, I'm sure. I have looked over cut sheets, and they can be confusing. Me as a farmer, even today, if I go to a different processor, the cuts will be listed differently, they will be described differently, and it becomes a headache. This is something that I think is a barrier to customers sometimes wanting to buy a share or wanting to buy a larger portion of an animal. Is the cut sheet's intimidating. When they have to look up stuff, and then even if you look up a ribeye, you're going to see different ways of bone in, bone out, different thicknesses. It can all be a little overwhelming. Some will even call it a Delmonico ribeye versus just a ribeye. It's a lot of different terms for the same thing, and it just gets confusing. What we have found, and I've learned this from many other farms, I'll go ahead and give credit to Seven Sons Farm, if any of you guys follow them. If you look at their website, how they sell their cuts, now they do all shipping, but they sell quarters, they sell eighths, they sell different size bulk shares, but it's predefined, meaning you know what you're getting up front. It'll have like 4 ribeyes, 4 New York strips, 4 filet mignons, 3 chuck roast, 3 arm roast. Everything is it's laid out already what the customer gets. This makes it super easy for the customer. It also almost creates that Amazon experience in that they can go to your website, they can look up quarter share. Ooh, I want a quarter share. And they can hit that button, and then it'll take them to a page where it says, hey, this is your quarter share. This is how much it costs. This is what you're getting. And it's very simple. Shares can vary between animals, meaning you take in a smaller frame, say a lowline or an Aberdeen Angus, or even something like some of the Belted Galloways that we have, versus a full-size Black Angus, a full-size South Pole, Hereford, Angus Hereford cross. Those animals are going to be bigger. Sometimes it's difficult to let your customers know how much it's going to cost. That can be intimidating. When they go to the website and they see they pay a deposit, and then they see that, okay, I'll get a bill based on what my hanging weight is, but I won't know the hanging weight for a couple weeks until it's done hanging. That can be a barrier for customers buying. What we want to do again is make it simple. And that's where predefined packages come in. We've done enough shares over the years to know about how many steaks come in a quarter, how many steaks come in a half. Even if you don't know, I'm going to list down below a PDF that describes all the cuts, all the breakdown, everything you'd really want to know about a share. You can copy this link. This is free to give out. It's from University of Iowa. This is what I'll give to my customers sometimes that really breaks down cuts, but it breaks down what should be in a quarter, what should be in a half. So you can use that one as a template to know what you should put in your quarters, what you should put in your halves. You can just come up with your own. That's sort of what we've done, is based on our experience and looking at these sheets, we've come up with what is about the average amount for a smaller framed animal. And what that does is allow us to have the leeway of having a few extra cuts that aren't included, or that if we need to add a cut somewhere here or there. Now the customer's not losing money because you're basing the price on what you're selling them. So if there's an extra cut left or here, they're not being charged for that extra cut. How do we come up with the pricing? Well, we use a spreadsheet. We made a simple spreadsheet, and we basically put down all the cuts that are going to come in your quarter, whether it's a pig, whether it's a steer. We put down all the cuts, and then we put down the price per pound, and then we put down what the average amount that they're going to get in their share. So for instance, our chuck roast, it's usually a 2.5 pound chuck roast. For our New York strips, they're generally 1.1 pound. That's generally how much we get for 2. For our ribeyes, they're generally 1.75. And so you get an average, and that's how you do your pricing. And so they may get, okay, 4 steaks, 1.75, that's for a pack of 2. You would do 2 of those and get the price for that. And then get the price for everything else down the list, and then we discount it. Obviously, it's a share, so it's a bigger bulk purchase. We want to reward the customer for that. So once we've got our pricing from the retail side, then we tend to discount it by 10, 15, even up to 20% on some of our larger shares. And that's it. It's pretty simple. I'm going to post a link down below to a spreadsheet that we use for beef and pork. You can use this yourself. Hopefully it'll help you. Again, my goal here is to provide you guys with value, and one of the definite ways I can do that is bringing what we know, but also giving you these spreadsheets that we have created over time that have helped us see the money coming in, what things cost, and how we can make our farm profitable. So that spreadsheet will be linked below on how to set up your beef shares and pork shares. Here you can see on the website, if I go to grass-fed beef, this is our Longbottom farm page, and then if I click on the grass-fed beef, it'll take me to all the retail cuts, but there's also a section we have for shares. And you'll see that we offer an 1/8 and a quarter, and then also a half and a whole. Our half and wholes, we still use the spreadsheet. We feel like if people are spending thousands of dollars, we want to make sure that they are getting everything and that they're getting it the way they want. Now, with 1/8 and quarters, that's not really something you can get the processor to do, for one. Some of them will do quarters, but typically it's the whole side of an animal, and you have to find 2 people that want the same cuts the same ways. It's just a headache. So for our quarters, again, we do predefined, meaning we put on here, I'll click on it, and you can see that it tells you exactly what comes in it. It's broken down into steaks, roast, ribs, others, and the customer knows up front what they're getting. They know how much they're paying, and there's no surprises. And they can literally click a button, they've purchased a quarter share, and I let them know when it's ready. And they either pick it up on farm or we deliver it to them. There's no cut sheets, there's no bill later for hanging weights. And then there's also an insurance policy built in here, in that we have had on one occasion a customer pay a deposit, buy a share, we processed that share, and then they backed out. Of course, we kept the deposit because when typically they do a share, it's not USDA, they do it as a custom. So it saves you a little bit of money. It's not much though, it's like maybe 50 bucks for, you know, a $4,000 animal. We've just found that it's easier to go ahead and do the USDA labels. That way, if someone backs out, then we can actually sell these cuts retail, and we're not stuck with all these not for sale stickers. And then what we do to make up for that to the customer, so they're not paying that extra charge, is we just eat it. And I know that sounds weird, but again, for a, you know, what's going to be a whole beef, generally retail, you can do $4,000 to $5,000 on that. And if you were to get that as a whole share and then someone backs out, yeah, you have your deposit, but then technically you can't sell it. So I have no problem paying 50 bucks as an insurance policy for ensuring that I can sell that meat if the customer decides to back out. So that's just a little thing that we do. And again, we don't charge the customers for that. I pay for that. I look at it as just a cost of doing business. You know, I've been burned once, and that's how you learn. So that's why I'm sharing it with you. Hopefully you won't get burned. So I do get all my shares with USDA labels on them, typically. Unless it's a customer that I know, we do have some regulars. And in that case, I will go ahead and get the custom cut because I just know I can depend on them. They've been buying from us for years. So that's it. Sorry, I digress sometimes. Back to the website. If you look here, you've got our quarter. You can see what you get. We also have an 1/8 of a share. And that's something we just kind of created based on what would probably be included in an 1/8 of a cow. This is a good way for people to get their feet wet if they're scared of buying a huge share. This is still a share. It's still a large amount of meat, and it's a nice variety of all the cuts so that they can get a good sample of what they would get if they got one of the larger shares. And we find that we sell probably more of these than we do any of our quarters, halves, and wholes. People love to buy them. Typically, when we get our beef back from the processor, we'll go ahead and pack up 5, 6, 7 of these and just already have them ready to go. That way, when customer orders, we already have it ready, and we're like, sure, we have your order ready, come pick up, and that's it. And literally, we're trying to create that Amazon experience, again, where they can just click a button, buy what they want. We can send them an email saying we have it, it's ready for pickup. If you can make it easy for the customers, again, you're going to sell more product. That's just the bottom line. So always look in your business of ways you can make it easier. And this is one way that we found with selling shares that we can make it super easy. Now with our pork, you can see here, this is our pork page. We do all of our pork predefined, meaning we package it after we get it back. And there's a big reason for this. One, and you guys may know if you sold shares, most processors have a minimum amount of meat to do sausage or brats, and sometimes that's 20 pounds, sometimes it's 50 pounds. And there's some processors where the people don't even get back sausage, they just get back ground pork. And we wanted to create a product where people could actually choose what kind of pork they want. We wanted them to be able to get pork and brats and a ham. And so that's why we created these bundles where now I'll include one ham, it's about 3 pounds. We include a number of varieties of pork sausage that we have on hand, and the customer gets to pick, so they actually get to get different varieties of sausage. And then they also are able to get brats. And this makes it in a way that they are able to get a huge variety of things versus a cut sheet. They would only be able to get sausage or brats unless they were grinding the hams, but then they don't get any hams. And even grinding the hams, they're still not going to be able to have much choice, maybe 2 choices of flavor. That was just something we felt people were spending a lot of money. They should have more freedom to get what they want. So that's why we created these. And I've got a plug-in that goes on the website. I think I pay about 50 bucks a year, but it actually has drop-down boxes. So when the customer goes to the product, I'll show you here, they go to the product, they can pick if they want bone-in chops, boneless chops, or a mix of both. They pick a number of varieties of sausage. They pick a number of varieties of brats. And this gives them some choice, and I think really makes it interesting. If I were buying a share, I would like this because I wouldn't be stuck with limited choices. So I think you'll find things like this make the customers happy. They make it simple for them. Again, they're not dealing with a cut sheet. They're literally just picking the kind of flavors of sausage and brats that they like, the kind of chops that they want. Again, even with chops, most processors aren't going to give you both. You either get bone in, and if you get bone in, you typically don't get the tenderloin or the baby back ribs because that's part of the bone that's involved in the bone in, and the tenderloin is on the other side of the bone. Boneless, obviously you get the boneless, but then you get the tenderloin and the baby back ribs separate. So just doing it predefined, this is a way we can give them the whole spread of things. Again, we plug these into the spreadsheet, link down below. That gives us a price, and then we discount that price, usually by 10, 15, or 20%. So I hope you found this helpful. Again, I was actually going to be packing some of the order while I was talking to you, and just got to talking, and that's how it goes. I can go on. I can talk shop on this stuff all day. So I love it. It's my passion, and I like sharing it with you. I hope that sharing this is going to help you. Maybe you can take some of these ideas and use on your farm. Use the spreadsheets down below. Also, be sure to look at the PDF that I have linked below as well. Again, that is something you can actually give to your customers that will really explain cut breakdowns of beef and pork. So it makes it really simple. And if you sell a lot of shares, you're going to get a lot of calls, and this just helped negate a lot of those calls. I usually tell customers, hey, look over this sheet. Then if you have questions, let me know. Those are down below. If you want to know some other ways that we move bulk products besides doing shares, check out this video here. Then we'll catch you in the next one.